Good evening, everybody. It's me again, Vince, or Vicente, or Vincent, however you want to say it. Here I am again, trying to get the best out of what the limited knowledge I have on technology. But of course, if anybody out there has better knowledge on technology, well, I am always willing to learn, and I can still learn, even though I'm no longer a young whippersnapper. I can learn as fast as any whippersnapper can, especially with the knowledge I already have accumulated and that I am constantly refreshing it, bringing it up to date, keeping it on the cutting edge, because that's one thing that we all professionals should learn. And I don't want to just say this off the track of what I'm the intent of this video, but it is very important that all professionals, everybody who chooses a career, should not stagnate, should not plateau, but should always be learning, researching, being on the up in the last in the last news or the cutting edge news or whatever is more relevant in the professional world. I'm keeping up with economics. I keep up with business and business venture, entrepreneurship, legal matters on all three aspects, political economy, which is one of my fortes. And as political economy, let me give you a brief notice. Political economy is not only economics, micro and macroeconomics, supply and demand, and everything that goes around that, but also understanding the political systems where economics stands or sits on. That's important because many times, and I lived it, I've been through it, and I know there's some folks out there that say that we shouldn't use too much of the personal experience as a knowledge based something, but in personal experience, that's part of the pragmatic research that people do. If that person who said that would understand what field research is, that's picking up real world experiences and trying to merge those or match those or mesh those, however you want to say it, with academia or scholastic understanding of the matter because scholastic matter sometimes doesn't construe or match with practical knowledge. And that creates a fallacy in itself. And it's a skewed research or a skewed theory when it doesn't have any real down to earth, boots on the ground type of experience type understanding and knowledge base. So the knowledge base has to be enriched through practical experience. You have to go one step higher once you understand the practical experience. So you can't tell a driver that he's driving wrong when you don't know what a driver is or how he drives or why he drives or what's the makeup of the vehicle. All those components are very important. But anyway, I'm getting off track. So like I said, all professionals should do that. And that includes doctors. Doctors are no divine persons who have some type of divinity instilled in them. They have no divinity. They're just like regular mechanics to the human body. So the only difference between an auto mechanics guy or a jet mechanic guy or an airplane mechanic guy or a truck diesel mechanic guy is that each one understands the anatomy and the functionality of that anatomy in itself, plus the physiology, which is practically how everything combusts with each other. So having said that, that should tell you that we are all have that responsibility to be on the cutting edge, which I am. I am glad to say that I am. I read, I research, I continue to research, I read all the time. I'm looking at the news and dissecting it. So first order of business, my email. V as in Victor, I as in Ice, V as in Victor, A as in Alpha, the number 78394 9 at gmail.com. And here it is. If you guys can read it or put some type of mirror, there it is. I guess there you can see it better. I mean, that's the best I can do. Whoops. I mean, one of these days, life will treat me a little bit better and I'll have better technology than a tablet here, which I mean, I'm privileged to have a tablet. I could have a something that resembles something else. Well, I just stumbled into something that I need to read to you guys, but I'll do that in a minute because there's a pressing matters that some folks that did take my email down, and hopefully more people see my video. But people who took my email down has written me and they say, well, what about if you say that Joe Biden is not a socialist and Bernie Sanders is not a socialist? What is? What's a communist? And they give me all this rhetoric and they try to jam me into a corner and say, you're just being, you just don't like Trump. I mean, it's true. I don't like the man. What can I say? I don't want him hurt or anything like that, but it doesn't mean that he might not like me either. When he sees my picture, when he sees me on this video, he might say, oh man, what a yucky individual. It works both ways. Maybe he does like me, who knows? But I certainly don't like him. Now, he might be okay as an individual away from his facade and persona that he has. If we get to see the real Donald Trump. But since I followed him in many ways, and Edmund Hollingsworth has followed him in more ways than I have, we have concluded that this guy's not changing. He picked up that persona that he has, and he just kind of tagged it on him, pasted on him with crazy glue. So it will never come out. So he's never off track in that persona that he has. So he has become a distasteful individual from the very beginning. I mean, you see him in the interviews that he went on TV. You see him with Larry King, that was also on TV and on radio, with Howard Stearns and many others. I I forget the name of everybody who's he come out of. We have a clip, or Edmund has a clip of everything where he's come out of, and he I mean, it really doesn't give credit to what he has right now. It was just an opportunity deal that he did. I mean, it was like in many cases. I mean, I ran into many people. Well, maybe I'm exaggerating. Many, a good number of people would be a better word. A good number of people who were on the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, and they happened to hit a home run, and they became CEOs, they became regional managers, they became vice presidents, they became presidents, and on and on and on. I mean, these people were just on the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, or doing the thing that they were doing, and everything just to seem to align. Seems like magic. And Donald Trump, and they timed it perfectly. Everything was timed perfectly, even though Hillary had a lot going for her. in some things. Of course, I don't like that woman either. So let's level the playing field. Even though I'm going to talk about her, but she is not persona grata with me. Okay, so she had some good points along that she was airing, and she stuck to the same script. Yet, yet, considering how, and she knowing exactly, she knew. I mean, this is not something that she didn't know. I mean, I could say for my daughter, she don't know. She's still young and restless, and like Hillary was 3 decades or 4 decades back, 5 decades back. But still, you know, Hillary knew exactly how the machinery works, the political machinery in the U.S. works, how the Constitution works. I mean, she went through law school. I mean, that says it all. Nonetheless, she blew it because she got too confident. She got too lazy. She thought that just because of her meritorious achievements, which to this day I am still waiting to see what achievements he's talking about outside of that nonprofit place. I don't see any great achievements in scholarly work or any other work, practical work. I don't see. I mean, I'm still waiting for that scholarly work to come out, which I don't see it. And on the book she wrote, I don't think she wrote it. I think a ghostwriter wrote it. The way it's styled, it's not her style. Mm-mm. Sorry, but it's not her style. See, it's like a fingerprint. Any writing that we do, it's like a fingerprint. In forensic science, they teach us what's the difference between the style of one person who is trying to imitate the style of another person. And no matter how much you want to do it, no matter how good you are at imitating styles, it's flawed. And that flaw will surface if you dig deep enough and make, especially if you can make comparisons, which in her case is not hard to do. So back to the point, Donald Trump is that his persona is not changing. So how did he get to the presidency? And I think I already covered this before, but I'm gonna say it real fast. The black man contributed to the success of Donald Trump jumping into the presidency. And many people say, well, the black man helped in the racial division. No, he did not help. He helped in the division becoming greater. He helped in creating antagonism. And he surely didn't help by not working and smarter, harder and smarter in immigration reform law. When he had two allies, he had Edward Kennedy and he had John McCain. They were willing to work with him, and he didn't. He became a pompous asshole. I mean, it's true. He can be jolly right now, jumping up and down like he does right now. He's a good speaker, not a great orator. He's a good speaker. He knows how to throw one-liners. But Trump is about the same as he is. Different style, but still about the same. The other one dramatizes things more, creates more hype, uses more adjectives than Obama. But at the end of the day, they both do the same job when it comes to speaking in public. Now, the content of what they say, of course, Donald Trump is flawed tremendously in his content. tremendously. I mean, you could summarize all that he says in 5 easy sentences. That's a shame. Now that he speaks in riddles, and sometimes, yeah, he talks in phrases, which amounts to good enough to a riddle. But he speaks in phrases and he connects phrases, one phrase to another phrase and then another phrase. It's called stacking the phrases in the sense with long pauses to give the effect of a complete thought when you haven't even completed it. And when you hype it up, when you yell and scream and do the jumping and screaming and movement of hands, you fill in the blanks by the body language and the yelling and the huffing and puffing and smiling and doing all these hand gestures. At the end of the day, what did he say? Ask yourself, what did he say? I mean, when you had the complete transcript or the tape, you tape the message, the speech that he did, and then write it down. Write it down. Break it up into pieces and write it down. Let me show you. He said, and this is quote. I actually did it. I have his speech taped, and then from the tape, I wrote everything down. He says, the only people brave enough to vote out the corrupt establishment is you, the American people. Okay, the corrupt establishment. Now, when somebody talks in that sense, let me break it down. When somebody says the corrupt establishment, you gotta see what does it mean by establishment. Does that mean just the politicians? Does that mean all the agencies of the government? Which means the entire government. It starts with the president, you know. That's where everything begins. In our system, it begins with the president. So, beginning with the president is an establishment of corruption, and it trickles down to the vice president, all the people around the White House, all the cabinet people, which includes the Pompeo guy, the State Department, which is a key figure, the Department of Commerce, which is Wilbur Ross, which is another key figure, Labor Department, which is another Purdue, which is another figure, and and on and on and on. You go through all those people in the first 4 layers of each cabinet person. Betsy DeVos in education. So you break it down in the top 4 layers, the corruption levels, and then you get all the representatives and the senators, which are corruption levels, which on the outside, uh, the people who are fostering the corruption would be all the lobbyists and all the interest groups. Then you have certain groups of people who are within auspices of the government, which is the Goldman Sachs people, the JP Morgan people, and other funds people, because you got Freddie Mae and Freddie Mac, which connects to those other ones that I just mentioned. And then you got other large companies like the Ford people, the Chrysler people, and then you got the General Electric people. So you got Monsanto people. You got, I mean, the list goes on and on of certain corporations that are heavily linked with these people. You got the Warren Buffetts linked with these folks. You got the Bill Gates linked with these folks. You got the Zuckerbergs linked with these folks, and the list goes on and on. I can go on and on and on naming things. I could write them all down in three tablets because that's what it takes. You get all the people there who are part of the establishment. Establishment is not just, remember, just take into account what the original question is. And that's where we're going to, the original question. Socialism and communism. If we were socialist and communist, or socialist and or communist, all these layers would not exist. Think about that. All these layers would not exist. They would be non-existent because it would be only one group, which we might use Bernie Sanders' term, the 1%, or the 1.5%. Let's change the example of Bernie Sanders. The 1.5% are the ones who rule the whole enchilada, and the ones who take any corruption of the whole enchilada. Everybody are underneath that 1.5%, because that 1.5% are all the privileged groups that are chummy wummy with the leaders, the political sphere. And the political sphere only has certain segments that are enclaved, and that's a key word right there, enclaved with them. So that leaves 98% of the population out. And that's one of the things that's a great problem. 98% of the population is left out. That's a communist regime, a socialist regime, a nationalistic regime. And all three of those systems reside under one word, which also overlaps into democracy and republic. But basically, those parties, those ideologies, those enemies, they like populism. That's a very special movement for them. Populism. Trump loves populism, even though he doesn't say it, but he does it. He does it. He puts it into practice. The IRS checks that come with his name is a populist situation. The the food baskets that he's giving out to the people throughout the United States and has a letter with his name on it, that's a populist movement. The red hat and the uniform, the colors are all populist things, especially if he sells them at whether it's a cheap price or a high price. He sells them and he affiliates the people through that populist movement. And he, in the way he preaches things, I'm going to clear the swamps. That's a populist notion. He's going to cleanse the swamps. He's going to drain the swamp. He's going to put Hillary Clinton behind jails and expose her 33,000 emails. That's a populist deal. So we have to take into consideration that word populism. Populism means it's something that's close to the people's heart, close to the people's mind, is close to the people's environment. That's what populism means. It's a social, it's a social, let's call it a social food that inspires the people to react to certain stimuli of other words that are connected to it, or other actions that are connected to it. Because when you come down to analyze and break it all down, you see the real picture. And the real picture is not what they want you to see. That's pretty much it. So those are things that you have to take into consideration. So we'll have to continue this presentation a bit long, but hopefully up to this point, I've been able to help you clarify some things, but we will continue to clarify more and more things on part 4. Thank you.